What's up, Trek Nation? Welcome back to After the Snap. It's me, Tasha Pierce, and I am back. I hope everybody had a wonderful, stupendous, whatever other adjective that you can use to call Easter. I hope you guys had a great that. We are back today to talk about Star Trek Picard. To talk about Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 8. This one was called Surrender, and I got thoughts. Now, before I move on any further, I'd like to say thank you to Justin, who has chosen to become a member of our crazy little family over here on YouTube. So thank you very much, Justin. I hope that I don't disappoint you. I hope that I keep you entertained, and know that anything that you guys want to, as far as content, if it's something that you think would make a good video, shoot it at me and I'll see if I can put something together. Yes, I am open like that, but I really appreciate the support, Justin. You too can support the channel by going to hi Justin, just talking about you. You too can support the channel by hitting that join button or going to patreon.com/Tasha Pierce. I appreciate any and all support. So thank you. Thank you. So, wasn't a lot of news this week. Now, we had First Contact Day earlier this week, and many people thought that we were going to get all these huge announcements. No, we did not get huge announcements. Thank you, Justin. I truly appreciate it. I enjoy these chats too. That's why I hate to miss one. So, yes, that's why I had to come on in here today. Yeah, so we thought, I didn't think, but a lot of people thought, and were disappointed that we didn't get a lot of announcements on First Contact Day. What we did get were some character posters for Strange New Worlds Season 2, which we all are looking forward to. I think I can speak on behalf of everybody across the board. We're looking forward to Strange New Worlds Season 2. We know we're getting that June 15th, I think it was. So I think that's enough for me right now. Until they have something truly solid to announce, I'm okay with where we are. Let me know if you guys think, that we should have gotten some other announcement. I am satisfied with where we were and what we got for First Contact Day. I am not going to lollygag either today into trying to get into a little bit of let's talk about Surrender, and then let's talk about where things look like they're going in episodes 9 and 10. We're gonna my theory is just continuing to take shape. And I guess I had a million theories. If you look back from season 3, episode 1 of Picard, where my mind was all the way up until now, you'll see that, basically with these theories, I take my investigation where the clues lead me. And the clues, all things are leading to only one entity being behind that red door. We're going to talk about it in a minute. Before we do that, we're going to talk about what season 3, episode 8 told us it was going to be about. Surrender said Vadic forces Picard to make an impossible choice: deliver what he can never give or watch his crew perish. Their only salvation lies in the mind of an old friend, an old foe. If you remember, season 3, episode 7 seems like so long ago, but season 3, episode 7, we got Vadic taking over the Titan. She's sitting in the chair and she's talking about how what's his name? Jack was, we're going to tell you, where you came from, Jack. And then we start this first episode, this next episode off, and we get Vadic antagonizing the crew of the Enterprise. Now, what we thought was a real skeleton crew, what we got was maybe 5 to 10 extra people that I didn't know were still on the ship. So on the ship, I thought they were the legacy characters, and then the bridge crew. But we found out there was a lot of other people on the ship, or a lot. At least they came out of nowhere with these people, and I guess these people just came out of nowhere to be killed because we got uh, like a horror scene that that rolled out with these extra crew members were just getting killed in some of the most horrific manners, and we found that out by Jack taking over a security member's body and watching what went down in these corridors. Now, I said last week, I didn't know if Jack could go into somebody else's body. We found out pretty early in this episode that he could. And to be quite honest, that's all we really learned about Jack and these powers that he has. That's all we learned this episode new. Everything else is like we're spinning our wheels trying to get to where we're trying to go, which basically this mystery box has expired. We need to know what Jack's what is driving Jack, what is making Jack have these powers, and what the hell is behind this red door. So Vadic was up to her monologuing, and again, all of that is fantastic until you start to realize that we still ain't going nowhere. We're in the same spot that we were last week. At the end of last week's episode, we're spinning our wheels. Let me see. David says, you caught me. Hi there. Hello. I'm glad you were able to catch up with me. I see. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to catch me. But what was I saying now? Yeah, we ain't going nowhere. So we got this gigantic changeling, the big changelings, and then we got the bridge crew. Now I'm gonna tell you, so much about this episode didn't piss me off, but it didn't make me endeared to what's been going on in these last two episodes. Number one, we got the bridge crew lined up. Once again, we got Shaw talking to 7 of 9. He calls her Hanson again, and she tells him, my name is 7 of 9. I heard that. Tell him, because he's not getting it. He's not understanding. You've told him more than once that your name is not Hanson. You prefer to go by 7 of 9. But then he's also telling her when she's attempting to kind of take up for the crew, he's telling her we can't do anything. This again is who so many people are like, we need to have a show around this character. And I'm like, this character right now is showing us that he's timid. And I know that there are people who are not going to agree with me, but every episode, except for when he was snapping on Jean-Luc Picard, who, by the way, is 100+ years old, and they thought they were going to die. So, of course, he's got a cup of courage because he thought that this was, we have nothing to lose. We're going to die anyway. When it comes to taking on real enemies, you see how scared he is. So I know you're going to disagree with me. If you disagree with me, let me know about it in the chat. I'm here for this. But yeah, he's telling 7, we can't do anything. We just, all is lost. At some point, I ate some popcorn. Wait a minute. I got to get popcorn out of my tooth. I'm sorry. Anyway, Mora. Jack took over Mora. A lot of people are saying, hey, he took over the only Bajoran is on the bridge. That means Pirates. But I'm still saying, let's pump our brakes on the Pirates. I still don't think we get any Pirates. He took over Mora's body because Mora was the closest to the console that he needed to use to put in this codex, Picard's codex. So I don't know if this is the direction that Terry Matalas and the writers want us to think we should be going. Is this Pirate direction so they continue to do things that would kind of misdirect us. And I could be wrong with my theory, but the power race require an awful lot of explaining. For instance, before we even get to the power race, we have to explain the Bajorans, we have to explain the prophets, then we'd have to explain the power race. We've only got 2 episodes left. I don't see all of that happening. What we need to really be focusing on is what we have been introduced to already. That, we've already been introduced. They've already given us some exposition. That was the changelings, the Borg, and really that's it. We've had those 2 species explained a bit. So we had Shaw explain to us what Wolf 359 is. We've had a few subtle references to the Borg. Then we had the Worf and them to explain what a changeling is and the powers that they might have. All of that has been talked about in expository conversation, but it has been explained. These are these 2 things. We haven't had anything else explained. So who else could it be besides the changelings, who we've already known for weeks, and something Borg or Borg related? So we'll go on as well. I'll tell you what I meant by that. So yeah, this is where I was talking about him. Just basically, Shaw is really scared to step outside of what seems to be the norm, and it's been explained in many episodes of TNG and also in Star Trek Picard this season. Starfleet doesn't need people who will blindly accept orders, who will just do things by the book. You have to know when to break a rule. And I know, we got jobs, and then we all, our jobs will tell us there's never a time. You always need to go by the rules. There is always a scenario where you need to break the rule. You have to know when to toe the tightrope, that line of being by the book and being a solid officer, and knowing when to say, this time we have to work outside of the rules. Shaw hasn't learned that yet. Yeah. So, yeah, Justin, you said you did notice he's afraid to lose people because of his Borg experience, and it hurts his status as a captain. But if you rewatch him and 7, they're learning from each other. I can agree, because 7 is well, as far as like the consequences. So she understood that, hey, Shaw told me to blow the turbo lift last week. I didn't do it because I'm not trading lives. But this time, since there may be consequences to the action I took, I'm going to make sure that I am the person who is facing those consequences. So we saw that this week. I still don't see Shaw, though. I still don't see him learning. He's only learning after, of course, and that's the way a lot of people learn, after they get the lesson. So this lesson has to be presented, and then Shaw is like, oh, I catch on now. Because there's been a million times where Shaw could have come up with a different way of doing things, and he didn't. He continues to try to do things in a textbook manner. So yeah, so here we have the scene where Jack is telling his mom and dad, look, mom and dad, I got powers. And as soon as he said he got these powers, Beverly pulls out a tricorder and starts trying to see if there's something wrong with him. If Sydney wasn't there, they probably would have never believed him. They probably would have thought this was all in his head. He is able to take over bodies. If you want to know where I think that is going, I feel like that is him being able to assimilate. And I don't know if we should call it a soft assimilation, because he can assimilate people. Obviously, he can assimilate because he's done it to Sydney and he's done it to Mura. What I don't understand is why he didn't do it to somebody bigger or stronger on the bridge and try to strong arm it. But I guess he was trying to do what he could with the least amount of casualties. So this is where he took over Mora's body. He took over Mora's body, and they were caught pretty quickly by Vadic. But it just let me know that he can do this to another person. Also, this pissed Vadic off and made her decide that, hey, if you don't come up to the bridge, I'm gonna start killing people every 10 minutes. And the first 10 minutes went by, and the first person she killed was, and it broke my heart, Lieutenant Tavine, my favorite Vulcan on the bridge. And I thought she was, her character had so much promise. From when we first started seeing her talk in those earlier episodes in the Nebula, where she was explaining what was happening, I was like, she is very competent at her job. I really like Lieutenant Tavine. It broke my heart. I'm pretty sure it would have hurt my feelings if any of them would have gotten killed. So if it would have been Mora, if it would have been Esmar, it would have been any of the other ones, it would have hurt. But it really hurt my feelings that Lieutenant Tavine got done. You're right? Hello there, Mrs. Powell. But yes, you are right. Girardi's Borg. I always call her Borgatti. So Borgatti, she could assimilate people simply with a touch in season 2. She did not need to have these nanoprobes and all this stuff. So you are correct, Mrs. Powell. Glad to have you with me again this week. Very astute. Yeah, she said also she loved Tavine. Oh man, I'm gonna miss Tavine. Man. She also loved Mora's line about being Starfleet. You know what? I guess that line would grow on me. It was like he said he couldn't have Picard turn over his son because I'm Starfleet. And it's like this. Picard is also Starfleet. Picard is protecting his son, and I get it. We all going to protect our kids in the sign of danger, but he's not considering the fact that these people on the bridge also have children, and they are willing to set the fact aside that they have children that they want to go home to so that they can protect your kid. I feel like in a lot of ways that's a little bit selfish, but it was admirable for Matthew Mora, to take that stance. David says, Jack is a crusher. I picked that off first episode. He looks like a crusher. Jack, really, when you look at these, going back, and this was coming from Reinhardt, who hasn't been in my chat in a long time, but you can catch Reinhardt when a lot of times he is on Clarence, our friend of the show, Clarence, his podcast discussing Trek. Reinhardt has been guesting along with myself on that show for the last few weeks, and he said, he looks a lot like Patrick Stewart when Patrick Stewart was younger, and it's not like a dead ringer kind of resemblance, but there is a resemblance between Ed Spaliers and Patrick Stewart, a younger Patrick Stewart. So yeah. So I guess, Jack, you saying that he looks like a crusher could mean that they found somebody who could really pass to be the son of these two actors. So that's a good thing. Justice says, I agree. Shaw is not fast at catching on, and it does make me mad too. But him and Seven will have a great moment by the end. I was shocked at Tavine's death, and I was sad too. Man, that broke my heart because I didn't think that I thought she was gonna kill somebody, but I thought it would be somebody that we didn't talk too much. So like when you go down towards the end of the line, let me see if I got a picture again of everybody where they were standing. When you started getting towards the end of the line, you got this little person that we thought at one time this was a changeling. I forgot what her race is. Then we also had a Vulcan, a male Vulcan, and there are a couple people who we really haven't heard from. So I was like, she gonna kill one of them. She killed Tavine. My heart just like literally stopped for a half a second. Like, did she really? Who does that? Mrs. Powell says, well, Picard and Crusher also are saying that if the villains want him for the power, then they shouldn't give them what they want. And that makes sense. Yeah. Also, they're gonna kill anybody. They're gonna kill everybody anyway. And this is true. Yeah. Yeah, Clarence. Once Tavine got done, I got scared for everybody because welcome to the show, sir. But but I got scared for everybody because I honestly, if anybody should have made it to the sequel, it should have been Tavine. I really heartbroken. You talk about somebody who just was devastated over a person who we've only known for 7-8 episodes. It broke my heart. So here we have Sydney making sure that Beverly and Jean-Luc know, yeah, he can take over people's bodies. He did it to me. That sounded bad. That sounded real bad. But she also was like, look, we need to stop her. We need to be able to take control over the controls on the bridge. We need control of the bridge. And she's like, I could do it in a week. My daddy could probably do it in a day. But we need somebody who can do X amount trillions of computations per minute. And then everybody, all of us at home was like, oh, y'all need data. So that's when Picard said, you know what? We need data. We need data. So we're going to have to go and we're going to have to get data and lore separate from each other. And we need him to perform these computations. That's when we get a very masterful performance by Brent Spiner as he plays against himself in this, like, what do they call it? Like, it's not like a heaven-like realm, but they're in like his mind palace. And I thought that was the setup, the execution, and the fact that Data used his cunning to defeat Lore. And he played into Lore's narcissism in order to beat him. So he used the knowledge of his brother. He knows his brother like nobody else could know him. And then he used a side of himself that he cultivated throughout his time with Starfleet and with his friends to beat Lore. And I thought it was well written, and I thought it was definitely well acted. Mrs. Powell says, let's hope Tavine has a twin or the actress gets another role on Titan. Would I be okay with a twin? I guess I would, just so that we could see her again. And I'm hoping, there was someone said, and I can't remember where, so don't quote me on this, that she was battling cancer. And, it may have been, we need to just give her time to aid in her recovery so that so that she won't have to have the I guess the baggage of this series on her or a next series. We could bring her back if we need to in another capacity, but this character needed to go because of her cancer diagnosis. I'm not 100% sure that's true. So, don't quote me on that. Mrs. Powell says, Data and Lore and Robot Heaven reminded me of and others of Rutherford and younger Rutherford in Lower Decks with the same Robo Heaven. Yes. Claire says, no more lookalikes in Star Trek. I can agree. He said, I feel sorry for what she's going through, though. That's tough. Yeah, and I don't know if anybody else had heard that, but I did hear it, that she was fighting cancer. Annie Wershing as well. Annie Wershing lost her battle with cancer, but I'm trying to let me make sure. I can't remember her name. Look, Stephanie something. Uh, I'm looking her up right now just to make sure that. Uh, do Stephanie Zykowski. But I gotta I'm trying to see if she really, because I don't want to be giving this lady no doggone diagnosis and it's not if it's not true. Uh so let me see. Yeah, so Stephanie, and I can't say her name, her last name. It's Zykowski, I think. Zachowski. She had 3 different cancers in the past few years. So she's a 3-time cancer survivor. So she was battling cancer during the filming of Picard. But it again looks like she's winning. It looks like she's beating it. So there's that. Now, for so many people, I don't have an issue with it. I'm good with whatever direction we want to take. That's within the realm of this could legitimately happen in this universe. There are so many people who talk about the fact that Discovery is not Star Trek. Discovery is Star Wars. Everything about it says Star Wars. And I'm like, they have pulled out more Star Wars tropes in this season of Picard than I have seen on any season of Discovery, to include this little ball. So I'm like, what the hell is this ball? Jack goes up to the bridge and he's threatening to off himself with this little ball, because it was a very interesting question that Vadic asked him when he brought the ball out. Vadic asked him, "Do you think that you could kill me with that?" Meaning that she would survive an explosion. That's what it sounded like to me. So let's not write her off just yet from what did happen to her. As crazy as that was, let's not write her off just yet, because she almost made it clear, I'll survive this explosion if you try to blow me up. But he said, no, you want me alive, I'll blow me up, and then you won't have me. Let me see. Justice says the Data versus lore was epic, and it was written so well, and the cut scenes to Picard and LaForge were heartbreaking. They thought Data was going to die again. It was like we kind of knew that Data was going to win out in the audience, but you could see the tension was getting more and more palpable on the screen, where these actors were like, they don't understand what's happening. We had the benefit of seeing what was going on, and it didn't take long for me to say, he's giving so much of himself to lore that lore is going to become him. So that's exactly what happened. Except for there is still little shards of lore and B4 and Sung all wrapped up, but we got mostly Data. So I was glad of that. Yes, Mrs. Powell, we're going to talk about the episode 9 promo. And there was another little trailer that was released. I believe it was released today, because I didn't check yesterday on anything. I was wrapped up in Easter. But today I looked and I saw that there was another little trailer for episode 9 as well. Now I can't play them because they always will. They hit me with a copyright every single time. So I guess I got to be a little bit more important before I can play these trailers in my streams. But we can definitely discuss them because there are some things. Uh, there are some things that I want to talk about, and I guess it's coming from the end of this episode to the what we saw in those promo trailers. Okay. Um, Clara says that whole ball threat was a bit much. It was because he just standing there holding it out like and I'm like, okay, Jack, we get it. The ball is you got the ball. We got it. Uh, Mrs. Powell said, I'm glad that Jack's thermal detonator homage was a misdirect. Yeah. Okay, so that one, the trailer that we saw, yeah, that was there was a hell of a line in that trailer. um Clarence said Brent Spiner talking about how he filmed the scene was amazing. He literally just turned around and filmed Lore Data's parts. Yes. So if you don't watch the Ready Room after you've watched the episode of Picard, what the hell are you even doing? You need to watch the Ready Room with Will Wheaton because first of all, Will Wheaton, and then second of all, he has guests who played heavily in that week's episode. And this past week, he had Brent Spiner, and Brent Spiner talked about the evolution of Data. He talked about how he played that character. I mean, not that character, how he played that scene. Just walk like as Clarence said, he on one side of the camera, he was Lore, then he would just walk around to the other side and be Data. Then he would just do that again. Honestly, how how many personalities do you have to be able to hold a conversation with yourself and it doesn't come across like you're talking to yourself? This is literally two different characters and you could see him turning from one into the other. Just a masterful performance. I've always appreciated Brent Spiner and his bipolar act. Clarence said he needs to find those trailers. StarTrek.com, that's where I found that trailer at, today's trailer. The one that they released today. It was on StarTrek.com. Yep. Now, the Ready Room preview was in the last episode. So we had that preview, and then they also released another little trailer. And in that little trailer, I was trying to see if they had anything that I could see like right away. Nothing that I could see right away. I would have to like slow things down. You know how we do. And then they also had those publicity stills as well, Clarence. Justice says, today's trailer has me excited. There is one big cast member returning. Now, wait a minute. Did I miss another trailer? Was there another trailer? Another with the big cast member returning? Because I didn't see that big cast member returning. I heard him say something about on the Ready Room that we were going to get somebody. And I'm like, I wonder who that's going to be. And a lot of people are guessing. Look, at this stage of the game, if it is not Janeway, I don't even need this person. We need Janeway. You've mentioned her name 4 times this season for no apparent reason. The limit on mentioning a character's name is like 2. I can let you do it twice. Once we start getting into 3rd and 4th times, we need to see that character if you're gonna keep bringing her up. So anyway, I didn't got beyond my past myself with this. We were talking about Jack with this dumb thermal detonator. And then Vadic says, well, don't you want to know what's behind the red door? And I'm like, yes, we want to know what's behind the red door. It don't look like you guys are going to tell us, which is getting kind of old. And I mean, it got old a couple of episodes ago. It's real old now. It's spoiled. It's expired. There's an expiration date on that mystery box, and it is expired. So let's go. We need to know what's behind this door. Now, So we see these red vines, which I'm going to call branches. And the reason why I'm going to just go out on a limb, oh gosh, pun intended. I'm going to go out on a limb and call these branches because I went back the other day and I'm like, I need to solidify my theory about Jack being able to use endorphins and the such to assimilate people. So I started watching Picard season 2. I picked up at about I think it was the 6th episode. I just said, I know it's towards the end or towards the middle in the end. So I picked up at the 6th episode where I remember, I kept saying, I remember seeing something that looked like those branches before in Star Trek. And that is where we saw it, y'all. We saw it in season 2 of Star Trek Picard, episodes 6, 7, 8, episode 6 through the end, where his mom was painting in the atrium and she was painting those red branches. And the red branches kind of came to life, sort of like what we saw Jax do. And his mother, Picard's mother, made a statement to the effect that I can see the future. So she's telling young Picard that she can see the future, and she's drawing these red vines and they kind of come to life just like Jack. Then you start hearing something behind a door saying, "Come find me. John Luke, come find me," and some other, it was a lot of other conversation going on in there. But the bottom line is, I think his mama, John Luke Picard's mama, was seeing this stuff before, long before John Luke Picard thought about hooking up with Beverly Crusher and them having Jack. His mama really could see the future. And this is in my mind now, and it's in here. Don't quote me. His mama really could see the future. And with all this stuff that was with this quote unquote Ironic syndrome, because I think she had it too, with all the stuff and the stress that was going on in her mind, she couldn't articulate, or even if she could articulate, people wouldn't believe the fact that she could see into the 25th century. But anywho, okay. Miss Powell says there were tons in that trailer. I'm wondering if it's the same trailer, because what I saw was like, I'm gonna have to go on YouTube and take a look. And if it's another trailer that I didn't see, I might put out a little short video where I talk about that trailer. Because if it's one that I haven't seen, I'm not going to be much use in commentary today. We do know Tuvok will be back. He said it himself. He was going to be in 2 episodes. We've seen almost Tuvok in the first episode. So hopefully this is really Tuvok in this episode, the second one. Yes. And remember, that was Picard's story when he was talking to the therapist who was really his dad. Also, the therapist handed him that ball that kind of looked like a sun. And look, if I remember, and if you guys won't, if I don't remember, try to remind me. I'm going to show you that little picture that kind of looks like that sun that therapist handed him, or dad handed him. It was a lot going on in season 2 that leads directly into season 3. And so many people who refused to accept that these 2 seasons might be connected. They really might be. So, and I mean, as they should be connected, because they are 2 parts of the same whole, Picard, but yeah, each one of these chapters is something intimate to Picard. And I think that people are asleep on the ways that these 2 seasons may go hand in hand. Justice said, I hope Janeway too, but it showed the Enterprise F and also Picard looking at what looks like a ship. I didn't see that one. Nope, I didn't see that one. Maybe Enterprise D, because they have left hints That's the cast member we need. And I have a feeling, because I did see one part where Picard said the fleet was trying to, the ships were trying to, going into the Frontier Day, control was being taken over by the fleet and was trying to like basically pull them in. Where they like, we got to get off this ship because this ship is connected to the fleet. This is a theory that we kicked around way back. How are we going to end up on the Enterprise D? Because that is where I think we're headed, to the Enterprise D. What's in Hangar Bay 12? In Hangar Bay 12 is the Enterprise D. That, and this is theory. This is not substantiated in any way. In Hangar Bay 12 is Enterprise D that Geordi was working on as a surprise. But all those ships that are at the Fleet Museum are offline from the other ships, because we know that all the other ships are connected. They all breathe. I mean, they all contact with one another, and they are connected. Those old ships at the Fleet Museum, those aren't connected anymore. So those are they're going to be the only safe ships that you can use. So this is how we're going to get this crew back on the Enterprise D that Geordi has been restoring. This is not just my theory. I've heard it other places as well. Mrs. Powell said it's his own brain giving him the vines. The Queen and divine imagery was his imagination overriding his true memory of his mom running from his dad into the cellar. But that's the thing. His mama wasn't running from his dad, was she? Was she really running from him? Make me understand, because he had made it, he had demonized his father, and really his father was trying to save them. But he, in his mind, Picard, had demonized his father and had misremembered all of those years. Oh, that is the same trailer. I ain't missed nothing. It was some part that Justin mentioned that I must not have been paying attention. It showed the F. It showed the Enterprise F. I must not have been paying attention because I don't think I saw that. I did see the other stuff, but I don't think I saw the F. That's what it is. I wasn't paying attention. So yeah, I do believe that might be the Enterprise D, might be the character that we see, but I really do like Justice says, I hope it's Janeway. Yeah, the Enterprise D would not have the fleet connecting tech. I see. I don't know where you were about to say, but something. Okay. Okay. So we stayed on that for a little while, huh? Oh, blank slide. Let's talk about Nepenthe. Also, going back to season 1, huh? Oh, okay, here we go. Mrs. Powell says, in hide and seek, his mom told Jean-Luc they should hide in the cellar, and when Jean-Luc's leg falls into that covered pit, his dad, who had gone after him, pulled him out in reality. Yeah. And then that's when he decided, you know what, you're gonna get my child hurt. So we need to lock you up, unfortunately. Yeah, and that was like towards the beginning of the end for his mama. Nepenthe. So we met Riker and Troy on Nepenthe, where they were living because they were doing some type of medicine on Thad, and they thought that they needed to be on that planet for this medicine to work or whatever. We're finding out that when we saw them in that episode, that they were just putting on a face for Picard. He's a visitor. He's there. They're going to roll out the red carpet and be, they rolled out the red carpet and they are trying to be hospitable. They got a guest and they showed him, a decent time. But in all actuality, of course, this is this season, they were having problems even then. And that's the way people, that's a realistic thing that you can have happen to a couple or anybody who is experiencing grief, and they're still trying to put all their best face forward for other people. Okay, so we got that out the way, and we understand that that's what was happening. And neither one of them wants to be on the Pente. They were only there for Thad, and now they hate this planet. But they haven't even talked about that together. They wait until they get their asses locked up and damn near dead. They to now talk to one another about how much they hate this planet. I thought this conversation was out of place. While I liked it because it is Riker and Troy seeming to be the two actors with the most comfort with one another. It's almost like you would really think that these two were married. They have that level of comfort in communication with one another, and she's becoming more and more like her mama, ain't she? But anywho, I just didn't like the fact that, okay, we had Troy doing some mind scrambling to Riker to kind of dull his pain after the loss of their child. That's psycho behavior. That's not normal. So that kind of bothered me that they would write that she did that. Understanding these are different people, and we've all gone over that over the last few weeks. You guys are hammering home to me that these people are the same people, but time has changed them. But would time do that kind of number on her? I don't know. You guys let me know how that made you feel. Justin said also the picture of the Enterprise D in episode 1 of this season, and it was Picard's favorite. And who did he say he was going to give that picture to? First episode. So it's like it's showing. I know that Geordi loves this ship. I'm going to give this picture to Geordi, but Geordi loves that ship so much that he couldn't let it die. So he has resurrected. This is Tasha's theory. Don't go telling people that this is really what happened. I know y'all know the difference between the theory and, what's really happening, but there are people out there who don't understand that. So because there are people who don't understand, I have to keep saying this is my theory. It's just a theory. Mrs. Powell said the planet had restorative properties. I learned this week that Nepenthe means a drug described in Homer's Odyssey as banishing grief or trouble from a person's mind. I don't know why I never looked up that, because I looked up what Proteus meant in in Homer's Odyssey. Thank you for sharing that. Oh. She said she thought, Mrs. Powell said, I thought that Nepenthe was purgatory for them back in season 1. They were stuck. That makes sense, especially since you've given me a little more context as far as what Nepenthe even meant. Does make sense. Thank you for that. So yeah, I didn't like the fact that they was having this conversation here, but I understand that this conversation needed to be had. They obviously had some things that they need to get over because they've done each other. One say, yeah, it was wrong. They've wronged one another. And while they don't owe us the explanation, they owe each other the explanation. I just thought it was kind of out of place here. That's why I said that, Mrs. Powell. Deanna's mom kept her sister away from Deanna and never mentioned her, and cut her own memory of this child. That's why I say she's acting like her mother. She act like her mother. And could it be that, okay, she thought that she would be better than her mother in these types of situations, or in this type of situation, and then found that, nope, I'm not better than my mother, and I'm going to do things the exact same way my mother did, because it spared me some heartache, it spared me some pain. She may, in a way, have thought she was doing the right thing, or the wrong thing for the right reason. Yeah. so touching, and I honestly, I do believe that these two actors are definitely, they play off each other so very well. They have a lot of chemistry. If this is the last time, which I don't think it is, but if this were the last time that we saw these two actors play off of one another, I would say they haven't lost a step from the last time that we saw them together. So yeah, beautiful. And then we got Worf came and saved them, y'all. Now I don't 100% know what the hell happened. Like they came in on a shuttle, even though don't La Serena have a cloaking device? So I'm like, okay, so why did they come in on a shuttle when their ship has a cloak? So I don't know. Make me understand. I was glad to see Worf. I did not like the Worf trying to. I don't know what was Worf trying to do. Was he just coming to tell Deanna, look, you helped me, learn to get in contact with my sensitive side or whatever, or was he trying to push up on Deanna? Because that wouldn't make sense, even though we know they had their thing back at the towards the end of the TNG run. It was just a fling, even though it's got to be weird, but it was just a fling. And he had the love of his life after that in Jadzia. So it's like he was like, I've been waiting to tell you this for years. But you had the love of your life within that period of time, even though for whatever short amount of time she was part of your life, she was the love of his life. Jadzia was. So there's that. But yay, he saved him. Yay. Mrs. Powell said, I think that on Beta Z, they would have psychic counselors for death and trauma for telepaths, but Diana and Luxwana doesn't seem to be near them. La Serena doesn't have a cloak. They used the Bounty's cloak on the shuttle, which is why Titan didn't have it for episode 7 and 8, and Titan had it back at the end. I don't know how I missed all that. Now, that certainly went over my head. Literally went over my head. Thank you so much. So we had to Worf and they had their conversation. They go back to the let me see now. They go back to the shuttle, and that is where Rafi is, and Rafi is on there. Well, no, they went back to on the Shrike where Picard's body is first. So they get on there, and Rafi is like downloading some stuff from the Shrike, and she's like, they're keeping his body because they didn't pull part of his brain out that has the Irumodic syndrome. So we know the Irumodic syndrome ain't the Irumodic syndrome, it's something else. And they left his body on the ship. You know, when that ship blew up, because it's gonna blow up. And when the ship blows up, they didn't think that they should take that body. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. And I've got an unusual attachment to this man's carcass. But I'm like, shit, y'all dragging. I mean, you got it now. Keep that man's body. Don't let it get blown up, but they let it get blown up. Mrs. Powell said Worf was talking about Deanna's counseling. She said, I think, which she did all of season 6 and 7. Yeah, but they started dating too up in there. That's when things got weird to me. When, look, I'm not trying to pretend like I'm all extra innocent. I would have been moving through that ship like slow fog as far as, tapping in and out of this and that, as far as relationships go. I'd have moved through that ship like I said, it's a whole, these people are more open, and they don't have they don't have hang-ups surrounding sex and sexuality and that sort of thing. But what I couldn't do is, okay, I know that Riker and Troy are like not just linked, psychically linked. You can see that from the very first episode of TNG. They are psychically linked. Ain't no way in the world I can do anything with Riker, knowing that everything that Troy gonna know it all. Oh. He also counted the days since he had seen Picard as well. He sure did. Yes, he did. And Ms. Powell also said, thank God they blew up his body. Section 31 did not need it back. Section 31, if they wanted that body, they got it. That they might have been right behind them before that ship got blown up. They might have been right behind them and took that body back. You just can't put anything past Section 31. You can't. Okay, so we went back and we were talking about before we move on, let me Justice said, I know Tasha. I was like, take his body. Yeah, come on, take it. Show respect. Yeah, we needed that body. I don't know what we needed it for, but we needed that body. So we talked about Data and Lore playing off of one another, and Data just handing little piece by piece, handing himself over to Lore, and Lore is just happy to take. I'm taking everything. I'm taking all of you, literally erasing himself as he did this. So yes, I was really happy, and that Data used all of his Sherlock Holmes skills to pull one over on Lore. Just to say, Section 31 is always up to no good. You would think that they would intervene in other ways instead of just stealing bodies and the such. Because, like, okay, you know what went down between on this planet with Kirk and Picard. The only thing you thinking of doing is taking his body? Are you real? For real? You're just gonna take Kirk's body? That's it? You didn't step in, you didn't do anything else, or maybe they found out after the fact. Bottom line is they always there just in time. And for that body, Kirk's body, to still be in stasis, they had to find it kind of quickly after it died. So anywho, and then we see some more of the trinkets that Data had, with including Tasha Yar, the Tasha Yar statue or tribute, and in the one that he had this time, she had a different pose. So the last couple of times we've seen that what do you call it? Whatever this is, hologram. God, I can't think of the word. The last couple of times we've seen it, her hands were folded in front of her. Now, both times their hands were in front of her, but they were in different ways in front of her. But this time her hands were on her hip. I wonder, I know she like got her hands on her hip. Like, when is y'all gonna bring me back to life? So yeah, I appreciate the fact that they did not leave out Tasha. She was a very big memory for Data, and she also was a part of the Enterprise crew. In Spot, he was a pretty cat and a good cat. I love Spot. Ms. Powell says the Riker, Troy, and Worf dynamic is a funnier version of the toxic one in AGT. AGT. The writers have taken a lot from AGT. Geordie's daughter's names, Bev being a ship captain, but losing her ship, the comm badges, Data being older. All good things. It took a little bit. Yeah, I would have been lost for the rest of the day. I'm thinking America's Got Talent. Oh gosh, America's Got Talent. Yes, no, it's all good things. Thank you, Mrs. Powell. But yeah, They did take a lot. They took it, because there are. I was talking about Reinhardt earlier. He was saying, well, that they didn't have a son for Geordi. Geordi had a son. We don't really know that, do we? We don't know that he doesn't have a son. We just know that. Uh, we just know about the two daughters. We haven't heard whether if these are the only two children that Data has. So it's very possible that Data does have a third child, and that things continue to play out the way all good things kind of hinted at. I guess nothing was set in stone, but yeah, it was a pretty decent little roadmap of how things could go. And then at the end, when Data and Laura hugged one another and it was goodbye, brother. Oh, such a sad. And even though I couldn't stand Laura, y'all know, I don't know if I said it last week. I'm sick of Laura being evil just for the sake of being evil. But it still was a touching moment when likelihood is you're not going to see him again. Now it's like, oh, I'm real sad about that. So then Geordi and New Data having their chit chat. Every time these two actors are on screen with one another, exemplifying what friendship through any means necessary or anything that could possibly potentially go wrong, they still remain friends. And I mean, you didn't remain friends with Data, and he died like 2 times on you. So yes, I like that. And yes, I agree with this, Mrs. Powell. I love that Data got the best parts of Lore, his sassiness, because when he came for when he came for Vadic and the changelings, oh, that was all Lore. It was all Lore, and I loved it. I loved it. That I loved. And Raffi, when she got back on the Titan and went completely ham in that doggone corridor on all those changelings. Now, don't ask me why none of the changelings had any like pew pews. They had them when they was, all the rest of the time they had pew pew pews. They don't have them now. Now they want to fight with swords. And I was like, you didn't brought, for real, you done brought a sword to a Kurleth fight. Raffi was everything. It was like Michelle Hurd channeled Michelle Yeoh in that moment, and it looked so elegant. I thought it looked very, very nice, and I always love those kinds of fight scenes anyway, when you have a limited space and you have to make use of every little inch. I thought she did a great job. I thought the choreography was great, and I'm like Deanna. She was like, "You're scary." Yes, she really is. Again, it points to me to why last week I was saying that if Worf and Raffi were on board the Titan and Vadic would have tried to take over, it would not have happened. That's why they needed them to be not on the Titan. but Raffi gave it to him. Vadic got in the end. Did some the same stuff that you've seen in many other sci-fi franchises, but the one that stuck out to me was the latest one besides this is when this was done in Marvel's Avengers Infinity War, when Ebony Maw had Doctor Strange hostage on that ship, and Spider-Man and Iron Man come up with a plan, and Spider-Man is like, okay, have you seen this really old movie called Alien? So every movie is a really old movie to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but they did the exact same thing to Ebony Maw in that movie. And Ebony Maw was talking shit as Ebony Maw and Vadic, those type of villains, they talk a lot of shit. So Ebony Maw talking shit, and Iron Man said, yeah, but the kids see more movies. and they blew the hatch, and out goes Ebony Maw, and he freezes up in the atmosphere, and yeah, yay, he's dead. Well, the same thing happened to Vadic. Yay, she's dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead. They actually went as far as to make her crash into her own ship and shatter into what looked like a million little pieces. But do we think that she's dead? I mean, she could be. She could be. But if one little piece of her survived, then she could return. She doesn't even have to return in the same body, so she doesn't have to return as Amanda Plummer. If they wanted to bring that character back at any time, they could just bring it back with a different face. And that's the beauty of a changeling. Changeling can be anyone. And also, there's never, you can never kill them. So anytime you think a changeling is dead, guess what? They might not be, because all it takes is a shred of them to survive. And then you got a whole new changeling. Mrs. Powell said they also seem to have edge weapons, as one poor ensign was stabbed in the neck. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. They just went on a horror spree at the beginning of this of the episode, and had that lady pinned up against the wall with that thing in her neck. Yeah. Yeah, Clarence. I forgot about that. Happened in the last season of Disco, too, when Michael was in the Jeffries tubes. I forgot all about that one. Justice said, I really like Raffi. I was happy she kicked some butt and Vadic turned into the T-1000, but I think maybe she's alive. I think she might be alive as well. Mrs. Powell said, it is interesting that the modified changelings had the weaknesses of solids. 7 killed Sydney changeling, and it didn't transform into goo. Right. But that's the thing. She had, like, they let her freeze and break into trillions of pieces. So we don't know, like, when that thaws out, if it thaws out, will that thaw out to be changeling? I do get the fact that these changelings don't revert back to whatever they are, because they look like horrible ground beef. They don't even look like regular goo. The little pretty goo that, oh no, they look like some freaking ground chicken. Hey, Geek Filter. Welcome to the show. So yeah, effing solids, man. That had to be now. That famous last words, I enjoyed watching Vadic bite the dust. And I'm not 100% sure she's gone. Really, I'm not. And then we got, the gang's out here. They all around the table chilling. But they're not chilling. They was really making a plan and talking to one another about this evil that's on the ship, where that Deanna can feel this evil surrounding Jack. So it's not in him, it's around him. Geek Filter said, changeling burgers, yuck. Oh gosh. So yeah, the old crew's back together. They gonna send their resident psychic up there to talk to Jack and get to the bottom of things. And even though the last scene of episode 7 promised us something, it basically didn't actually come out and say, next week we're gonna tell y'all, but it really did allude to us getting an answer to what's behind that red door. And then here we are, a whole nother episode has gone by, and the only thing that we got is closer to the red door. Now, difference to this red door now is that there are flames shooting out the red door. So I got reasons, and I don't know how many people watched the review I did, but we are going to talk about what I saw that would make me feel like I'm still on the Locutus train. I feel like when when Deanna opens that door and then finds herself all flustered and says, oh, I gotta go. And she gets up and runs. And Jack is like, what did you see? What did you see? I think she saw Picard as Locutus behind that door. And that is what got her so upset. And the flames. There are so many people who still say we are pointing this at the pirates. I still think that this points at Locutus. Because if we go back to episode 1, which is what I like about this group here, y'all ain't afraid to go back to the first episode. Y'all not afraid to go back to last season. That is wonderful, because that's what we have to do sometimes to get the answers that fit the puzzle that we have in front of us. The puzzle we have in front of us is in episode 8 of this story, what makes sense to be behind that door? In episode 1, we have Beverly hiding out and trying to get ready to engage with what we know now were some changelings who had boarded her ship. In the background, we hear Picard, the best of both worlds. The best of both worlds. One of his captain's logs, where he is talking. I don't know what their interest is in me, talking about the Borg. So we're hearing a captain's log from that. Then we also hear it a song. I don't want to set the world on fire. I don't want to set the world on fire, which is what Jack doesn't want. That's what Picard doesn't want. But according to Shaw, when we get to No Win Scenario, that is what Locutus did. You know what your old man was doing when Locutus was setting the world on fire? He was on that cube. So he's telling you, this is like, it's almost spelling it out. The first episode, we're hearing best of both worlds. We're hearing, I don't want to set the world on fire. We move forward. We get subtle mentions of the Borg in each one of these episodes. And then in episode 4, they dropped the hammer. They felt like the sky was on fire when this one Borg cube was attacking all those other ships. And we got that spelled out to us in elaborate detail, because that's going to be important for people who did not watch TNG. So they needed to have that bit of exposition. Then we move forward. We got Jack doing these wonderful, crazy, super things that he's able to do. And then he's always making Borg type comments. For instance, I just want to connect. For instance, what did he say to Vadic? There's no sense in you. What did he say? There's no sense in resisting. He said something to that effect. He is constantly saying things that might as well be resistance is futile. Where we at? I missed a lot. Okay. Mrs. Powell said, I think that it's the ship talking to Jack. Remember last season, 7 said that the new Stargazer had Borg tech. Geek Filter said, I think it will be Borg related, because thematically that makes more sense with Picard. Yes. David says, behind the red door sounds like porn. Yeah, it does. Mrs. Powell says, the promo pics seem to show Troy going from the Ready Room teaser to John Luke and Beverly in sickbay. And Troy looked so sad to tell them what she saw. I'm just afraid that she opened the door and left him alone. Right. Geek Filter said, I think that's a green door. Mrs. Powell said, to be consumed by the Borg. Jack isn't. Yeah, she left him alone to be consumed by the Borg. Jack isn't with the rest of them later in the trailer. You are correct. Yeah, I wouldn't know nothing about the green or the red doors. I don't know. All I watch is Star Trek. Justice said, I think she saw Locutus, but as Jack. But they needed part of Picard's mind, but Jack's youth and power. Also, Vadic was saying all the voices as one Jack. All the voices as one Jack. Huh. Yeah, I want to know. I want to know what is making the voices like, because we know that we're hearing Beverly's voice, we're hearing a Borg Queen, the Borg Queen's voice. So my question is, who is that? Is that, like, we know that the Borg can throw their voice and they can come at you in a familiar way. So who is it behind the door? Would it be Jack behind the door, but looking like a Borg? Or would it be Locutus behind the door, making this last standoff with Picard be Picard versus Locutus? This is the only enemy Picard has never faced himself. He was never able to beat Locutus. So would they make it be Locutus that they're facing, so Picard can finally forgive himself, realizing that these now are, I've beaten this side of myself, and that everybody else who looked at the Borg and the person who was assimilated as one, to i.e. Shaw, would be able to say now, these were always two separate entities. And if we defeat Locutus, then we're on the road to recovery from all of this trauma. That's Shaw. If we could pull Cisco out, that would be Cisco. That would be Picard himself. I can see a lot of ways where they need that person behind that door to be John Luke. They need it to be Locutus. Mrs. Powell said, Jack talking to Seven about everyone needing connection and being a million stars from each other. Yeah, all of these little things. They were like, and again, we could be wrong. It's technically, it's still a theory. We could be wrong, Mrs. Powell, even though I doubt that we are. We could be wrong, but I can say that we're wrong. And if we are wrong, we have followed the breadcrumbs that were laid before us. We haven't tried to pull nothing and make nothing. I had somebody in one of our groups talking about it's going to be Kirk and Picard battling each other. For what? Why would that even happen? In just logically, why would that happen? And if once you start to put logic in things, your the options of what is happening in this season start to narrow down an entire lot. This is like, we can't just pull things out. You just can't make stuff up. Justin said, on the bridge of the Titan, when Jack turned himself in, she kept saying, you hear them, don't you? And all speaking as one. Yes, as one Jack. Right. What? You didn't watch Voyager? Well, we're going to need to change that, Miss Powell. Now, and I'm not going to tell you this right now. We'll talk about it later. Mrs. Powell said, I didn't watch Voyager, but I heard that the episode that Seven had the mind meld that Tuvok fixed was a Borg brain malfunction. Yeah. Which resulted in a small ex-Borg group becoming telepathic with her. Yes, that happened. Yes, Geek Filter, I forgot about that. Or Seven, when Vadic said, "Oh, it's appropriate," or how fitting it is that you witnessed this. She said that to Seven. When Jack came up on the bridge and then they had the bomb, boom, boom, boom. But also, when she came on the bridge, Vadic, she turned, she was being Vadic, but then when she asked Seven, open a channel for me, please. Please. She was kind of not, I would say, respectful. She spoke in a respectful manner to Seven, because I think, like I said last week, I think she knows that Seven is related to the boss, or at least she was, and she feels like she has to be kind to her. Yeah. Mrs. Powell said Kirk, resurrected by Borg versus Picard, was the sort. Oh, so that okay, so that the story would make sense. It wouldn't make sense in the context of what we have seen this season, but it would make sense in some part of the universe where Shatner's book, probably in an alternate timeline, where Shatner's book becomes canon, and that then he and Picard battle for whatever reason. And David said, I like Tasha's idea, but what if the Borg assimilated a changeling? I think we've seen, I think what we, and I can't say for sure because we got Vadic no more. Now we have to just, we just have to find out by dealing with the changelings that have taken over Starfleet. But I think that's what we were seeing. I think in some way the changelings made a deal with the Borg. Don't ask me what this deal is. And the Borg were going to help them in some way, shape, or form so that they don't have to stay in this solid type state that they're in. And it seems like that is why Vadic, that's what was motivating Vadic, and that many, I won't say that just her, but it has to be widespread that all of these changelings are able to do this. Thus, all of these changelings may have be obligated to the Borg, whoever it was, Locutus, whomever, in order to get whatever this cure or whatever is. And if you guys got an idea, because I keep saying whatever, so that means I was like, I don't have nothing to fill in that blank. It's just a whatever. Geek Filter. Compared to the burn, at least we have breadcrumbs. The burn still breaks my heart to this day, because I made so many videos where I like, okay, I think I know where we're going. And then it went someplace that you would have never guessed. And I'm like, come on, y'all. Y'all couldn't do better than this. So we don't even talk about the burn around here. It's like, we don't talk about Bruno. Did y'all watch that Encanto? Just like they don't talk about Bruno, we don't talk about the burn. Mrs. Powell said, oh, shut up. I stopped watching Voyager after the Neelix Limburger cheese infects the ship episode, so I never saw the 7 seasons. Also, the 7 as a pin-off thing was a turnoff. Yeah, a pin-up thing was a turnoff. They really played into... I like what we're doing with Jerry Ryan now. She is far more than her looks and her body. And they really, really played into her looks and her body. Oh, yeah, and I remember reading that, Mrs. Powell. Terry Matalas said that Kirk's body was an Easter egg to Shatner's book series. Right, but he was like, and he also said that he is kind of like... he left the door open for if somebody else wants to use Kirk in something in the future. Now we got a way to bring him in. His body is in stasis. So yeah, I got you. But yeah, so I see, why that would be something that you would put in as a cool Easter egg. What I didn't understand is why so many people kind of took off with that. It was something that was introduced and never spoken of again. So why was that the thing that we fixated on? And then Justin said, and we can't forget the transporter. It was showing us something that has something to do with everything. It's just, I agree. And we keep forgetting about the transporter, or at least I do. When I remember it, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot the transporters. What does the transporter have to do with everything? We saw that that screen, because Geek Filter You sent me those very clear images from, I forgot which episode that was, the episode with Rolaire and imposters. You sent me those screenshots. I appreciate that because I was able to read at least half of one of those screenshots, and it was talking all about a transporter malfunction and a lieutenant who was injured in this malfunction, which made them shut down the transporters on all these ships until they could do something. I couldn't read the rest of it, but I read enough to get that much out of it. So something is going on with the transporters because Vadic last week said we're not going to use them transporters. Remember? So now we've got that screenshot talking about the transporters. We have Rose saying we're not using transporters. We got Vadic saying we're not using transporters. So what the heck is going on with the transporters? That's my question. Mrs. Powell said, I love Jerry Ryan and Picard. She has been great, and this is why I'm not ready to see her story end. I would like to see more of 7 of 9. Geek Filter said someone needs to make We Don't Talk About the Bird for a convention or something. Oh, I have submitted, and I don't know. I am mildly agoraphobic. I tell everybody eventually because I am trying to get out of my own head so I can get outside more often, right? But Clarence was talking to me about Comic Palooza. Comic Palooza is here in Houston where I live, and I submitted a panel, and I might, if I'm accepted, I might be the person to talk about We Don't Talk About the Bird at Comic Palooza. So I'll keep you guys, I don't know how many people are in the Houston area or will be in the Houston area around that time, or if I'm even going to be chosen to do it. Because if I'm not chosen to do it, I'm not going out there. But if I am, I have been talking to my doctor about ways that I can be helped to get out there. So we're going to see. Yes, the original changeling on Titan, Mrs. Powell, is correct, was a transporter tech. And people were wondering, why would they put one in the transporter room? It has to mean something. Also, when Jack went in the transporter room and had a vision of all the red vines all over the transporter, this gotta mean something, right? Maybe. I hope so. Mrs. Powell said, or was on a shuttle. Worf and Raffi rescued Riker and Troy with a shuttle, and in the trailer, the TNG crew is on a shuttle. You are right. Now, yeah. And Picard and them didn't get on the ship on a transporter, did they? I can't remember. I know Raffi and Worf did. Raffi and Worf came on the ship on a transporter, and Riker left the ship on a transporter. But I can't remember. So yeah, LeVar Burton, Geordi and his daughter came on the transporter too. I'm just trying to figure out what could this all mean. Okay. Oh, Geek Filter said, awesome. The Text Trek group is out there, and I think they are going as well, and may have a panel. I've never heard of the Text Trek group. I might need to check in with them just because we're in the same, area here. They were transported from the Ilios. Oh, yeah, you're right. They were. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm thinking of the first time they got on the ship. Were they transported onto the ship, or did they come in the first time on the shuttle and then on the Ilios the second time? Yeah, the first time they did. The Riker and Picard took a shuttle to get on the Titan, but then they went to the Ilios on the shuttle, and they came back to the Titan through the transporter. Yeah. Yeah, a shuttle when they came back. For sure, 100% certain it was a shuttle when they left the Helios. I can I'm gonna just say it's a toss up right now for me because I don't remember how they got there in the first place, but I do remember that when they came back from the Helios, it was definitely they were transported. It's 6 o'clock. I got a little more time in me today, I think. Um, I'm going to try to do Clarence's show today. Also, he does Discussing Trek on Mondays at 8 p.m. Central Time, right here on YouTube. And they'll be talking about the same episode, and I'm all warmed up now. I might jump in on their chat and see if I can disrupt their show this week. Clarence is a lot more organized with his show and the way he does things, and I am chaos. Oh gosh, and I go over to their show and I bring the wrecking ball with me, baby. Next week's episode is called Vox. Yeah, Vox. A devastating revelation about Jack alters the course of Picard's life forever and uncovers a truth that threatens every soul in the Federation. The final battle begins as Picard and his crew race to save the galaxy from annihilation, but not without a gut-wrenching cost. So now, that is the description of next week's episode. Now, we had a conversation, and David, Claire said, good chaos. Sometimes I try. Thank you, Clarence. But, okay, so we had a conversation on my channel a few weeks ago where I was talking about the Latin for the word, or the Latin for voice. And I said the Latin for voice was locutus. And David was in the chat like he was earlier today. I think he's still here. David was like, no. The Latin for voice is vox. And then we're like, okay, so what is locutus? Locutus is the Latin for talk or speak. So locutus, talk or speak. The reason why the Borg called locutus is because he was going to be the voice. He was going to talk for the Borg in order to make assimilating Earth in Sector 001 much simpler. It was supposed to be easier because we're going to use a proxy. We're going to use somebody to speak for us. And Picard was special in that manner. They used him as a voice. So episode 9 is titled Voice. Now, we just went over who was the voice of the Borg. And that is how they described him in Best of Both Worlds. And that was Locutus. Locutus was to be their voice, right? So is it making more and more sense that we are on the right path, that Vox is actually really pointing us to Locutus now? But then what the thing that stands out to me in this description, it says they're going to save the galaxy from annihilation, but not without a gut-wrenching cost. And it feels to me like that means somebody is not going to make it. What do you guys think that means? Is it, am I reading too much into it? What would be a gut-wrenching cost? Or is it that they will be battling, that Jack will be on the other team? What do you guys think the gut-wrenching cost will be? Justin said, oh, I hope we don't lose a TNG main character, or maybe it's Shaw we lose. I don't think they're gonna kill Shaw. Now, it would make sense to kill Shaw. It would make sense to kill him, but I think Shaw's gonna make it out of this season. I'm telling you, I've already told you guys before, I think, who I don't think is gonna make it out of the season, but um, it's not that I hope. It's not. I'm not hoping that she doesn't make it out of the season, but I feel like to make an impact on, if you're gonna off a character, you're gonna get as much bang for your buck as you can get, and the impact that this character would have on everybody. Yeah, I think the person who I think we're gonna lose, it's gonna hurt the most people. Miss Powell says, is Locutus a long-standing Borg construct that they implant in an influential specimen or a species? That's obviously the Uromatic syndrome. Now, they said that this, and if I'm remembering correctly, they said that this was the first time that the Borg gave an individual the ability to speak for the collective. So this, besides the Queen, because in that they wrote that in later. That wasn't even a thing in the beginning, right? We know that. So I don't know if they're going to retcon and say that they have always had a voice person for the Borg, but yeah, it does sound like that the reason why this whole thing was so important for it to be Jean-Luc Picard who became the voice for the Borg is because of this Uromatic syndrome. But even though it's not Uromatic syndrome, it was some area in their parietal lobe that made them a good target for assimilating for whatever reason. If this area in the parietal, you know what I'm trying to say. I just said it. Y'all know I can say this word, parietal lobe. Yeah. So that area was active then, but then it started to, I guess, with this nanoprobes and all of this stuff. Now this is me guessing. This is what started to degrade it and make them feel like it was killing him. But anywho, David says Vox is voice or sound. Yeah. And David also says Locutus is the one who speaks. And this is the Latin lesson in the dead language. It ain't no dead language. We're going to continue to speak Latin over here. Mrs. Powell said, I wonder if they have to temporarily leave activated Jack stuck on the Titan when they flee. That might be it. That would be better than killing somebody. Even though I still don't think everybody gonna make it out of this this season, it would be better than killing somebody. Justice says, Tasha, you made me laugh about Shaw. Beverly, I could see, or maybe 7. Oh, that would hurt. Oh, 7 would just 7. The upside on the character is just too great. There's too much they can still do with 7. I think it would be Beverly. It would keep Picard from having to make that choice between Beverly and Laris. If Picard makes it out of the season, which I really hope he does. But if he's to try, it would make you have to have a decision, a choice between Beverly and Laris, unless Beverly dies. Then you know what you're going to do. You're going to go with Laris. Also, it would force Jack and Picard to strengthen their connection, because all they would have is each other at this point. As far as family is concerned, there's no more. If Mom is gone, there's no more Beverly for Jack. As sad as that would be, he would have to connect more with his dad, and not to mention how bad it would make everybody else feel. That everybody else would feel some type of way if Beverly were to die. Justin said the loss of 7 would be gut-wrenching. Yeah. I mean, if they choose to do something spectacular with her after she has lived out her arc, like this would be, if this is Locutus like we think, this is Picard's arc finishing completely. You know, the one enemy that he couldn't fight was himself, and now you will get an opportunity to fight yourself, and if you come out triumphant, then your arc is done. You've won. 7 would have some more things to work on. And although we're seeing her inch her way towards being a complete person in Picard, she didn't get a lot to do this season. We've seen her in the last couple of seasons, the first season, second season, of her embracing her individuality, but she's still looking for connection herself. So we need to see her close out her arc as well, the arc that began all the way back in Voyager. If 7 dies, Geek Filter says the fans are going to hunt down Terry Matalas. Yes, we will. David says, if we find out Riker's a changeling and the real Riker's dead and security has been compromised, everybody's been compromised, but except for the people on the Titan. Beverly had came up with some kind of way to determine who was a changeling and who was not, which is what makes me, that was weird that Picard and Geordi had that conversation, even though it continues the running joke about how bad Picard's wine is. It's like, why are y'all doing this when Beverly knows how to? Oh, but she couldn't do it. She couldn't do it because they was locked out of the computers. Sorry. But yeah, so we're past the part of any of them. The only person that's on that ship right now who could be a changeling is Troy, because but she knows too much. This Troy knows far more than what she would know if she were a changeling. So even she's out of the question. They're all who they say they are on that ship at this point. And whoever's behind the red door. So we got Jack, and then we got the red door. That's the only person whose identity we are unsure of at this point. Mrs. Powell said, they better not kill Beverly. I've loved her for 35 years. They're not killing 7. She and Shaw are the next show, right? And I really, Shaw, I'm not understanding, but okay, I'm gonna see, because look, no, I'm not interested in Shaw. I might be one of the only people in the whole world that's like, he okay. I'm not interested in the whole show of Shaw. Justice said, but in the trailer, we see Jack holding a phaser or something at someone, like he is fighting something in him. What if it's Sydney? Because her and Jack like each other. Oh gosh, Geordi is already threatening this man. Don't do nothing to that man's child. Lord have mercy. I don't know what would happen if he did something to Sydney. Geordi would not be trying to help Picard at that point. Geordi would be on the other team at that point, because if Jack did something to Sydney. Clarence says, I don't think it's Riker. Deanna says she know the others weren't the real Riker, so she knows she can read her husband. And she says she really couldn't read Changeling, but she read Changeling enough to know that Vadic was full of rage and vengeance and anger. So I'm confused, but she says she can't read Changeling, and I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, me too, Clarence. I think they're setting up 7 as the new captain of the Titan, or at least the story is going to revolve around. It'll be like a what do you call it? Michael Burnham, where she moves from being a commander to being captain, and I still don't think we need Shaw to do that, because Shaw has proven himself to be, I won't call him worthless. uh, he knows his stuff. That's not what I'm saying. That man knows his stuff and he's authoritative. But when it's time to think on the fly, he got nothing. And I feel like, like with a lot of cops who do their job and they do it according to the textbook. When at some point you need to interject a little bit of empathy or authority, outside authority, you need to know when to step outside of things. And he just doesn't seem to know when to do that. It's all, let's go by the book. But the book was written by bureaucrats and people who are looking out for, they didn't expect some of the things to happen that is happening when you're putting everything that's in this book in theory into practice. Now you don't understand, these are when things you need to be able to change on the fly. And it doesn't seem like it seems like he doesn't want to do it because of the experience that he had on the what was the name of the ship? The Constance. Mrs. Powell said, I don't think that the writers will show Picard choosing Beverly or Laris, as they will probably leave the last episode with the whole TNG gang on the Enterprise D and leave who Picard picks to fanfic. But you think that he would, because remember, we had Picard have this exact same situation in an episode of TNG where it was some lady, and I can't remember who, in his past that he was supposed to meet in France, and told her, we're going to meet up there, and then he stood her up. We think we're going to do the same thing again, because he told Laris that at the end of this, I'm going to meet you on whatever planet that was that they were supposed to go and kind of retire to. He said, I'm going to meet you there. And she was like, I'll be waiting for you. So now, is he going to leave another woman hanging like that? I think that was another way to close his arc and him end up in a happy relationship, because that's what Q wanted for him last season. So yeah, I'm going to see. We'll see. I kind of hope he doesn't leave that lady hanging like that. That'll be like, we need to bring his ass back one more time so he can do this right, Mrs. Powell also said, Troy saying that her foyer was judgy. I don't remember. Wait a minute. Was judgy. Was so funny. I don't even remember. I don't remember. Geek Filter says, as long as we know Troy is actually Troy, we know that the rest of the people on the ship too, since she can sense or not sense changelings. Right. Said, didn't we already see that scene? It was Jack's delusion, wasn't it? Jack has had some delusions that put him in the position where he's holding a phaser on somebody a couple times. What if Troy is a changeling? She knows too much. I don't think she's a changeling. She knows too much about the time period of when their son, when Riker and Troy's oldest child passed away. She knows too much of the happenings in that time period. You wouldn't be able to guess some of that shit. And the fact that she can still read people, she still feels stuff. I think that's all. That she's safe. I think she's safe. And Mrs. Powell, oh Lord, you asking for a logic question. And where are the bridge crew and LaForge girls in the shuttle in the trailer? I don't know. It is. I got nothing for you. I don't know. Okay, so you know which episode we'll always have Paris. When we say we'll always have Paris, I think about that one episode of Lower Decks. We always have Tom Paris with the damn Paris collector plate. Janice Mannheim. Okay. Justice says, I love Beverly, but Laris and Picard should be together. Laris has been through too much. Yeah, that man had put her through the ringer. And the thing, gosh, she lost her husband, and I don't know what the deal is with Romulans, like my understanding is that they could have been together anyway because you can have multiple partners. Look, I'm not trying to get in them folks' bedroom. All I know is that I feel like Laris already had the hots for John Luke, even while her husband was still alive. And then, she ain't worried. She like, wherever I go, I'm gonna find me somebody now. Shoot, I'm trying to make it be you, John Luke. So she just trying to. I'm just trying to look out for John Luke in the waning days of his life. Mrs. Powell said that's why the writers won't go there, but they already went there. They shouldn't have had her say, "I'll be waiting for you," because if she would have never said that, then there's no expectation of them getting back together or seeing one another again. If they just would have said goodbye, that would have been, that would have been cool. But she said, Mrs. Powell says, I love Laris, but they won't bother showing her at the end as they seem to be leaving the ships alone. JL Bev, Seven Raffi, JL Laris, who he hasn't even contacted. Well, we don't know if he contacted her or her. We don't know if he even knows that if I contact her, it will be her. Who knows? She might even be taken over by a changeling at this point because they feel like he might get in contact with her. So yeah, I'm gonna I'll bet a quarter. I'll bet a quarter that we see Laris again. A whole shiny quarter. Justice said, yep, season 1, she was looking after him like they were kind of together. Yeah, she's a monster when you start talking about fighting and stuff. Yeah. I don't know why they nerfed them down a bit. Yeah. Killed the husband and all that. I don't know what they did that far. Mrs. Powell said John Luke fell in love with the second woman, married to someone else, and then the widow. Oh yeah, you're right. And somebody who he was cool with the husband. Yes. Oh gosh. Geek Filter said, and a fun connection to season 2. Janice Mannheim is played by Michelle Phillips, who co-wrote the song California Dreaming, which figured prominently in the soundtrack. Would have never thought about it. Fun connection. Yep. Janice Mannheim is played by Michelle Phillips. Mrs. Powell said, I hope that we see Laris. The changelings should have gone after her. You would think that they would have, especially after Vadic said, go after anybody that they love. She sent them on that was her directive to her changeling henchmen to go, everybody that they love. That's how they end up with Troy, right? So in my opinion, they should have went after Laris anyway. Yeah, Geek Filter, I think that's what we coming to. That Laris could have been a changeling from the beginning. And then this whole conversation would be moot. And yeah, if they would have came there on some wrong shit and they would have not been able to answer the question the right way, Laris would have taken them out. If Raffi could take them out, Laris could have taken them out. The faceless changelings, and like now we didn't kill them. I don't understand, like how are we gonna get an explanation for that? Because I still need an explanation for why they needed to have on coats and why they were 7 feet tall. I needed to know why that was the thing. I'm mad at you for saying this, Clarence, but I'm coming to it. Justice said maybe Laris dies. They try to get Picard to surrender and he won't, and she dies. That would be terrible, but I can see it happening. Yep, I can see that happening too. Laris equals burn. I'm told we don't talk about burn. We do not talk about burn over here. Yeah, but it better not equal to burn. They better do something with that. But yeah, let me see, 6:30. What else we got? Do I have another Another slide. Oh, and that's like a screenshot from the trailer that came out today. And what we're looking at appears to be some festivities or surrounding Frontier Day. Is this the F right here? And they were talking about they were getting pulled in. Um, they were getting pulled in by the fleet. You see how many Starfleet vessels are out there. And again, Geordi said earlier this season, hey man, I tried to talk them out of having every ship, every Federation vessel or every Starfleet vessel show up for Frontier Day. It's just not a good idea. And yeah, nobody would think that's a good idea. Nobody with an iota of common sense would say, oh, it's a great idea to have every ship in one location on a day that we are advertising that this is going to be the case. It's like it's like how it didn't make sense on 9/11 for all the planes that in the closest area to where New York City was, where these planes were going to hit. They're all doing training exercises so that they don't believe right away that this is really happening. This is like that level of why would y'all do that? Why would all of these areas, why would all of them be doing training exercises at this time? I'm not saying that, it was no inside job or anything like that. Don't quote me on that now. I said what I said. It does, Geek Filter. He says upper right corner looks like a portal and not a firework. It really and truly does. I don't know. No, you guys can't see my cursor. But if we're all looking at the same picture. Look at that. In the upper right corner, as Geek Filter says, that looks like a portal and not some fireworks. 100% correct. Now that is interesting. What can that be? What do you guys think? If that's a portal, what would be coming through? It really does look like a portal, not a firework. What would be coming through there? I know y'all I can see the wheels spinning in Tasha's mind. I'm going to have to watch the trailer a couple more times myself, Geek Filter. Yeah, it's like that. It looks like a portal right over there. It sure does. And I want to know what we think it could be. Yeah. Beverly's discovery. This little. I don't know why my mouth is turning into mush at this point. Mrs. Powell said, I think Beverly's discovery of the isotope will be how Starfleet flushes the changelings out of all the ships. Yeah. And Justin is agreeing it does look like a portal, almost Borg space. Yeah, that's something to consider. That is something to consider. Something is coming through there. And if it's a Borg ship, we know that it don't take very many to wreak havoc. And then all of our, as far as Starfleet, our ships are connected to one another. So it wouldn't take much to beat our fleet right now. Justice says, because in Voyager, Borg space looked reddish brown. And it could be, I don't remember, and greenish. Yeah, I can remember some of it being green. Geek Filter said to Ms. Powell, Bev is good about finding those big solutions. And she She came up with it rather, I would say, simple. It was easy for her, rather easily in that episode. Mrs. Powell got a question. My question is, does Jack take over the Titan, or does the network fleet take over Titan? See, that's what I thought we were seeing in the trailer, that the fleet took over Titan, and then Jack maybe you are, girl, now you thinking, girl, now you thinking. That makes sense, that the fleet does take over Titan. We see that happen in the trailer. Then Jack is needed to cancel the network. Girl, that makes so much sense. Yes, perfect. Even Clarence is saying perfect. Yes, the transwarp hub. That's what we have. We got a Jack. Thank you, Geek Filter. You think they would have learned something from the Protostar incident and not have the ships connected so easily. But what I think is that the changelings infiltrated Starfleet and then started making these changes to protocol with these ships. And even though it should have been a whole lot more pushback, on these changes, it's obvious or apparent that not enough was given. And if it was, then people probably were offed or moved around, a la the conspiracy aliens. If you ask it too many questions, once the changelings start to infiltrate the higher levels of Starfleet, then they just get rid of you if you're asking the wrong questions at the wrong time. So, yeah, I agree. They should have learned something from that incident. But if you got some people at the top who this is what they want, that's why I never really particularly agree with Starfleet being operated like a military organization. It's just, it shouldn't be a military organization, if you ask me. Mrs. Powell said, I think why can't I talk? Okay, so that's letting me know that I'm getting tongue-tied. It's time to stop. I think at Geek Filter that the changelings did the connection. So I'm trying to see but yeah, I'm trying to see where we're answering. Yeah, you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. Jordy did 3 memos telling them this is a bad idea. I mean, nobody should be doing that. That doesn't make sense at all. Why would you have every single ship? I can understand having your flagships. I can understand having, certain ships that you want there that have features that you're proud of, that you want to display in this parade. But you still need to have a perimeter, and you still need to be prepared for anything, because you telling the world Frontier Day is this day and we're going to have the entire fleet. That's like a U.S. sitting duck. You're asking for it. No one ever listens to the IT guy. Oh, gosh. Well, in this case, they probably should, because they are making a grave error. It's like, Starfleet, you in danger, girl. Oh, gosh. So, well, we got anything else that we want to talk about as far as the trailers go, or where we went with theories, or anything else? We got some real good ideas. It's kind of like closing it in today. I am enjoying where we are going. And Geek Filter, you done gave me something that's going to keep me up all night, which is explaining that portal back there in that corner. I really want to know, or I'll come up with, some little headcanon as to why that portal is opening up there. What's about to come through? to be fair, the Pentagon does repeat their mistakes. If they're mistakes, dun, dun, dun. Some people think that the Pentagon doesn't make big mistakes like that. So if you see something being repeated, it's because it's by intention. It's by design. But I'm not about to throw my whole conspiratorial tinfoil hat on right now. We're gonna continue to talk about our wonderful, wonderful episode of what's the name of the show? Star Trek Picard. Oh, said thanks. Oh, you're welcome. No, thank you, babe, because we have come to some things now. We are cooking with grease over here today, and everybody had their thinking cap on. I'm really happy that you guys joined me, and if you would like to see more of my live streams and these little theory sessions, then subscribe to my channel. Turn your notifications on so you will know when I go live or when I put a video of some of the things I think about these series. And what else? What else I got to say? If you've not yet done so, please hit the like button. That really will help this stream find an audience in the rebroadcast life. I appreciate the people that I have here today. Oh, Geek Filter said, I don't think our government is smart enough to be that calculated. I'm giving them too much credit. They're too busy arguing over apples and oranges to be that calculating. Shucks. But yeah, I think that's it for me, y'all. Because I still want to save a little bit of this. And if you guys aren't doing anything at 8 o'clock, join me over there with Clarence and his crew as we discuss this episode again. And then, you get to see me interact with some other people. It's just not me. Even though I'm interacting with y'all, and y'all are fantastic. I really and truly appreciate. Wait a minute. I missed this comment. Not this one, the other one. Geek Phil just shot soda out of his nose. Oh, I love it. Oh gosh. Justin says these last 2 episodes will be good. Great stream, Tasha. Thank you so much. And thank you again, Justin, for becoming a member. Thank everybody for being here. I appreciate you guys. Everybody, I've had fun, and I will see you all in the next one. Live long. Well, we gotta do it in front of the camera, though. Live long and prosper. Peace.